This story is titled Not Her Type. My name is Mark. I'm 52 years old, and I live in a quiet suburb in the Midwest. It's a small, unassuming place where the biggest excitement is the yearly barbecue competition, and people still wave at each other as they pass by. I've been married to my wife, Linda, for 14 years. She's 49, full of life, and has a sharp sense of humor that was one of the first things I fell in love with. Linda can light up a room. She's the kind of person who makes everyone feel at ease with a witty remark or a playful jab. When we first met, her jokes were endearing, a way of breaking the ice and connecting with people. But lately, those jokes have taken a different tone, one that's cutting deeper than I'd like to admit. It started innocently enough. One evening, as we sat down for dinner, she looked at me with a playful glint in her eye. "You know, Mark," she said, smirking, "if I had a thing for guys like you back in my 20s, I probably would have married someone much sooner." I laughed, thinking it was just one of her usual quips, but something about it didn't sit right. What did she mean by guys like me? I brushed it off, convincing myself I was overthinking it. But the comments kept coming. We were out with friends one evening when someone asked how we met. Linda launched into the story, her animated voice drawing everyone in. "Oh, Mark was persistent," she said with a chuckle. "I wasn't really into guys like him, but he won me over eventually." The group laughed, but I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I smiled, pretending it didn't bother me, but inside I was unraveling. The next day, I brought it up. "Linda," I said cautiously, "about what you said last night. Do you really feel like I'm not your type?" She looked at me, surprised. "Oh, Mark, don't be so sensitive," she said, waving it off. "It's just a joke." "But it doesn't feel like a joke," I admitted. "It feels like you're trying to say something without actually saying it." She sighed, her expression softening. "Mark, I love you. You know that. Stop reading so much into things." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to let it go. But the comments didn't stop. One night, as we were watching a movie, she pointed at the leading man on screen. "Now that's my type," she said with a laugh. "Tall, rugged, and mysterious." I glanced at her, my heart sinking. "What about me?" I asked, half joking, half serious. She turned to me, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "You're dependable," she said, patting my hand. "Dependable. Not handsome, not charming, not attractive, just dependable." The word echoed in my mind, leaving a bitter taste in my mouth. As the weeks went by, her jokes became harder to ignore. At first, I tried to laugh them off, telling myself it was just her humor, that I was being too sensitive. But the more it happened, the more I started to question myself. Was I not enough for her? Had I been fooling myself all these years, thinking I was the one she truly wanted? One evening, as we sat in the living room, I couldn't hold it in any longer. "Linda," I said, my voice trembling, "do you regret marrying me?" She looked at me, startled. "What? Of course not, Mark. Where is this coming from?" "It's the way you talk about me," I said, struggling to find the right words. "You keep joking about how I'm not your type, how you weren't into guys like me. It's starting to feel like there's some truth behind it." Linda sighed, setting down her glass of wine. "Mark, I love you. But yes, I'll admit, when we first met, you weren't exactly the kind of guy I imagined myself with. But that doesn't mean I don't love you now." Her words were meant to reassure me, but they only confirmed my worst fears. "If I wasn't your type," I asked quietly, "then why did you marry me?" "Because you're a good man," she said simply. "You're kind, loyal, and you make me feel safe. Isn't that enough?" I didn't know how to respond. Was it enough? Shouldn't it be? That night, as I lay awake in bed, her words played over and over in my mind. I was a good man, kind, loyal, dependable. But was I desirable? Was I the man she dreamed about when she closed her eyes at night? The doubt started to eat away at me. I found myself overanalyzing every interaction, looking for clues, signs that I was enough, or that I wasn't. One weekend, while Linda was out with friends, I decided to clean out the attic. I came across an old box of her belongings, filled with photos, letters, and keepsakes from her past. As I sifted through the memories, I stumbled upon a photo of Linda with a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, rugged, and undeniably handsome. The very image of the type she always joked about. I stared at the photo, my chest tightening. Was this the man she had in mind every time she said I wasn't her type? Was I just a consolation prize, the safe choice after her real dream didn't work out? When Linda came home that evening, I couldn't hide my turmoil any longer. I confronted her, holding up the photo. "Who is this?" I asked, my voice shaking. She glanced at the picture, her expression softening. "That's Tom," she said. "We dated for a while in my 20s. Why?" Is he your type? I asked bluntly. Linda sighed, sensing where this was going. Mark, what's this really about? It's about feeling like I'm not enough for you, I said, my voice breaking. It's about feeling like I'm living in the shadow of some ideal you've been carrying around all these years. Linda sat down, her expression serious. Mark, I didn't marry Tom. I married you. Do you know why? Because I'm dependable, I said bitterly. No, she said firmly. Because Tom didn't make me laugh the way you do. Because he didn't make me feel safe or cherished. Because with you, I don't have to pretend to be someone I'm not. Her words were heartfelt, but they didn't erase the pain I felt. Then why do you keep making those jokes? I asked. Why do you keep reminding me that I'm not what you imagined for yourself? Linda looked at me, her eyes filled with regret. I didn't realize how much those jokes were hurting you. I thought I was being playful, but I see now that I was being careless. I'm sorry, Mark. I never meant to make you feel this way. Her apology was sincere, but the damage had already been done. The following days were quiet. Linda had apologized, and I believed her sincerity, but the words she'd spoken and the feelings they had stirred up in me lingered like an unwelcome guest. I started to notice little things. Moments when Linda would glance at me, almost as if trying to gauge my mood, or when she'd hesitate before making a joke, catching herself before the words left her lips. She was trying. I could see that. But the damage had planted seeds of doubt, and those seeds were starting to grow roots. One evening, as we sat down for dinner, Linda broke the silence. Mark, I've been thinking about what you said, she began. I looked up from my plate, unsure of what to expect. You're right, she continued. I've been careless with my words, and I've taken your feelings for granted. I want to make things right. I nodded, appreciating her effort but unsure how to respond. I know you mean well, Linda. I don't know how to move past this. Every time you made those comments, it chipped away at me. Now I'm left wondering if you ever saw me as enough. Her face fell, and for a moment, I saw tears well up in her eyes. Mark, I wish I could take back every single thing I said that hurt you. I wish I'd realized sooner how much it was affecting you, but I need you to know something. I love you. Not because you're my type, but because you're you, and that means more to me than any fleeting attraction or ideal. Her words were raw, heartfelt, and yet, a small part of me still hesitated to believe them. The turning point came a week later. I had decided to spend the afternoon at the park, hoping some fresh air would help clear my mind. As I sat on a bench, watching families and couples pass by, an elderly man took a seat beside me. He looked over, smiling kindly. You look like a man with a lot on his mind, he said. I chuckled softly. That obvious, huh? He nodded. Care to share? Sometimes it helps to talk to a stranger. Something about his warm, non-judgmental presence made me open up. I told him about Linda, about the jokes, the doubts, and the pain they'd caused me. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment, then said, Son, I've been married to my wife for 52 years, and let me tell you, there were times when I doubted if she truly loved me too, but love isn't about fitting some perfect image or being someone's type. It's about the moments you share, the life you build together. If she's willing to fight for you, maybe it's worth fighting for her too. His words stayed with me as I drove home. That evening, I sat down with Linda. I've been thinking, I began, about us, about everything we've been through. I don't want to throw it all away because of a few careless words, but I need to know that we're in this together, that we're both willing to work on this. Linda reached for my hand, her grip firm. Mark, I want nothing more than to make this right. I'll do whatever it takes to show you how much you mean to me. We decided to start fresh, to rebuild our relationship from the ground up. It wasn't easy, healing never is, but it was worth it. Linda made a conscious effort to change the way she spoke to me, to replace her jokes with words of affirmation and appreciation. I, in turn, worked on rebuilding my confidence, reminding myself that I was worthy of love and respect. One evening, months later, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, Linda turned to me and said, You know, Mark, you're my type. You always have been. I just didn't realize it at first. Her words brought tears to my eyes, not because I needed her validation, but because they were a testament to how far we'd come. Our relationship wasn't perfect. No relationship ever is. But it was ours, and we were both willing to fight for it. And in the end, that was all that mattered. If this story resonates with you, like, comment, and subscribe.